Welcome back to Turning the Mirror podcast. Today we want to have a look at the state of the nation. If you're very keen, you've seen that over the recent past, we've seen the president spend about 5 days, or rather a whole week, in Homa Bay County. This is also as a matter of fact, and also because of their bromance with the man, Baba Man, Raila Odinga.
Yeah, sure.
We've also seen Rigathi Gachagua, today known as Wamunyoro, also spend most of his time in Ukambani and also in central Kenya, with the main message, one term. So we've seen Kenyans talk about one term, no term, and two term.
And in one term, so many reactions across the country in regard to 1-2 term, yeah.
We've seen Rigathi Gachagua and Kindiki also try to show some kind of supremacy.
Yeah.
We've seen them involved in a supremacy battle in the whole of central Kenya.
Yeah, sure.
Now, just to begin with, remember, I'll first of all give you a very short question, or very fast. We saw Fred Matiang'i,
yeah.
Dr. Fred Matiang'i, come back to the country in what was termed as homecoming. After homecoming, he went to Kisii and then visited Wamunyoro, and then after some time, he went back to the US.
Yeah.
Now, is it by choice or just coincidence that Dr. Fred Matiang'i and the former CJ David Maraga, are not taking part in the current politicking, being in either of the sides, either the Wamunyoro side or the Ruto side? Is it by coincidence or is it by choice?
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This is Awod Kaboko. This is what I would say. This is a very calculated move. And when you refer to a man like Matiang'i, we can say that he hasn't taken side, because when he was into the country, he was in the Wamunyoro side, the side of opposition, and we were seeing they are trading together, and we hoped that perhaps in a later time they will tell us who will be their flag bearer. But now that we're seeing Matiang'i is getting out of the country, and he's getting out of the situation of politics in the country right now, and even the person speaking for him are not that very vibrant as they were. And so we are clearly seeing something that Matiang'i is strategically considering a lot of factors. Because one of these factors is it possible but that the team, the opposition team that is here to collaborate with, will give him the ticket of the flag bearing as their presidential candidate. Also the challenges that is meeting in the space of politics right now. We have the comebacks that he has to face, that people are trying to show off the things that Matiang'i had done, the bad ones, the brutality, and that picture. So it's a good thing that Matiang'i would strategically go aside a little bit to make or to redecide on the next steps that he must take, and to counter everything, because he has already tested waters and he knows the challenges that there are, and also things that he will now manage easily.
What about the man CJ, the former CJ?
Oh, the man CJ Maraga, we can't really say that he's out of the picture, that he's quiet right now, because he's just on. He's attending events, he's doing one or two. It is just that the media, the Kenyan media, especially the mainstream, is not giving him attention, because it's just about the attention of the media that people can actually realize, oh, this is what CJ is doing, these are the moves he's taking. But the media has turned off the cameras. We don't know the reason why, but perhaps there could be something special behind that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, when I look at the man Matiang'i or David Maraga, and then look at, for example, the team, the Wamunyoro team, I tend to think of three things.
Okay.
You know, number one, if you join the Wamunyoro team as of now, number one, you must be under Rigathi Gachagua.
Yeah.
So as you move around, even before you form the formal coalition, Wamunyoro is the boss.
Yeah, sure.
Or rather, Gachagua is the boss.
Yeah.
So with Matiang'i or Maraga joining this team, it means at all cost, they are going to work under Wamunyoro.
Yeah.
And that would simply mean you've already decided who the flag bearer is going to be.
That's true.
Again, I'm seeing Gachagua or the wing, their main message as of now is Ruto one term.
Yeah.
There's no specific tangible agenda aside taking Ruto back home.
Yeah, nothing.
And therefore,
they're trying, but nothing.
Yeah, and therefore taking part in this side would in some way, somebody like Maraga maybe might taint your image into somebody who doesn't really have a concrete plan for the country.
Yeah.
So again, I'd ask you now, let's go back to the Madaraka Day festivals in Homa Bay.
Yeah.
And you know, before we speak about it, let me take this, let me show our audience something here.
Okay.
I know you can remember this clip. Yeah, with that clip, the photo and the two photos.
Yeah.
The first clip is when the residents of Migori. Of course, we've had other people talk about some people being ferried and all that. But we could see a big population yesterday who spent the night inside the Raila Odinga Stadium, where today's event was held.
Yeah, true.
And then after that, we saw now the Luos, the Luo as a community trend on X. And many people were wondering why they could make such a decision, or why the population that was there could make that decision to take part or be physically in the field for the whole night, just waiting for the event that was to start the following day at around 10.
Okay.
And then the third photo that I've just put is Raila Odinga, 1 working with Moi, 2 working with Kibaki, 3 working with Uhuru, and then 4 now working with Ruto. But all of these people, at the time when they are working together, they're always their brothers, or his brothers in short.
Yeah.
They're always brothers, and you realize that before even they get into working together or the coalition, there must always be some pull and push, whereby at times people are out there protesting, we have bloodshed, we have people lose their lives, and then Raila is brought in into the coalition. And then whenever he comes in now, the current president becomes more brother or even more better or a performer to him compared to the person they are working with.
Okay.
So maybe just with this, what do you think? Because you could see people compare, people wonder why the Luos could go and sleep inside the stadium, and then the Luos themselves, a number could also bring the photo of the Kikuyus, who I think Sagana State Lodge, where they were eating some rice or some food.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
Well, number one, I just don't have the facts, but I've read somewhere like some people are trying to say that there are people who are ferried from other country or distant places to come to the place. So they were ferried before the event, so the evening to the event. So they just had the place they could spend was just within the stadium.
So because they had nowhere to spend.
Yeah, to wait for the next day. And again, I don't really think that would have really mattered unless they didn't really have the information and the intelligence of what was happening, because it's true, the people of Homa Bay County, they were so anxious and they were so resilient, they wanted to be there. So I could not really understand if there was a reason why people could be ferried from distant places. Some people also say that there was a promise that the first 10,000 people were to be given some 1,000 or 2,000 bob. And that can be a reason, that can be a case, because I could see even women, children, youths sleeping right there in the stadium in the cold.
I even saw a man being pulled with a rope. I think the stadium was closed.
Yeah.
I assume so, that it was closed at some point. And this guy wanted to enter the stadium.
Yeah.
So he was being pulled so that he could enter through, I think, the roof or somewhere.
Yeah, you see, the people of Homa Bay were waiting for this event like nothing else. And it's true, it's a big thing for Homa Bay County, because this is something they've never seen since the country got independence. And it was unique, and the development that the president came with, and the improvements, the infrastructure that they were seeing, they were so happy, especially to their governor. So that could be somewhat true and somewhat not true. So it might just be the anxiety that they had and the rush for space. And again, the comparison of this with the Kikuyu, the picture you also you showed us that we see the Kikuyu eating for them in this event that they were invited. And we realized that there is a clash that is currently going on between the Kikuyus and the Luos. They're trying to compare, they're calling right now Luos to be fools and cows of Raila. Some are saying those are Raila pigs, that they're doing anything for Raila. Because Raila is coming, is bringing Ruto so they can sleep in the cold and even get diseases like pneumonia just for the sake of Raila. And the Kikuyus on the other side, that is what the Kikuyus and some other Kenyans are speaking about. And also Luos on the other side are saying, oh, you were also bought by rice. And that is what brought you on board, and that is no big deal. And they're trying to say that you supported this government. And when you supported it, the government, we were out of the government and we were against that government. And today we are also supporting the same government you supported, but you are the people who are against us, speaking ill of us.
Yeah. Okay. Now, to Gachagua and Ruto. In as much as the president is trying to refute and trying to ride off the claims that the campaigns have officially started, you can clearly see what he does when he's out there on the rooftops or on the roofs of the vehicles and what he does. In short, he's also just making sure that he has a good grasp of the ground. And making sure that his supporters are not moved or swayed by the current happenings or whatever is going on in the country. Now, with the Gachagua in the current position, because after impeachment, Gachagua has become a darling to a good number of people, mostly in the central Kenya, and also the gamer community as a whole. And today you can see Gachagua also trying to push a narrative that they are into the Gen Z movement, and it is the Gen Z that have the solution to the problems of this country. And Gachagua is seriously campaigning, and his main aim, because he has said the government is claiming they don't have an agenda. They've said they have agenda, but the very first one, the main one, is Ruto going home so that the country can change. Then we have also Ruto here, who is trying to downplay him and saying that even Kindiki himself, that the campaigns are still not yet, the time is not yet ripe, and when the time comes, they'll hit the road moving. What do you think about these two people?
Okay, right now, William Samoei Ruto is very relaxed. He's a composed man, never worried. He's with Raila Amolo Odinga, and that's a big thing. If you don't know, some people might be speaking about that Raila right now, he doesn't have the influence. But you can only say that if you've never studied and understood who Raila is. Raila has been down to the ground, and people could think that he will never rise again. He has lost elections, but coming the next election, he rebrands himself, and again he becomes the darling of the people, and he brings together millions of voters to vote for him. And we've just not seen him be the president of Kenya. But now Ruto, with Raila Amolo Odinga, Ruto feels relaxed. And when he's saying that right now we are concentrating on development and improving the country and uniting the country, he's saying these words because he knows he has some backing. And we can't really say that Gachagua is not seeing this. Gachagua is seeing this. And that's one of the reasons why you are speaking of Gachagua trying to look into the Gen Z, how we can win back the Gen Z. Because when we speak of Raila, and right now the movements that we see Ruto is making in Luo, because the movements we are seeing Raila Amolo Odinga is making, just within the Nyanza itself, we have to understand that he's winning back the people. and people are trying to see William Samoei Ruto in different lenses. And it is the people of Luo Nyanza right now supporting Ruto, even online. And when other communities are saying Ruto must go, but there is a narrative that is also going alongside. When people say one term, there is also some voice that is speaking somewhere that 2 term. You get it?
Yes.
And again, Raila has been also been followed by the people from Western region. That has been his base for voters base. And also we've seen Kisii County. We've also known him for the coastal region. Coastal region is still with him, and he has men like Joho who can just go there and win back the people for him. And when you speak about Western region a little bit, there is some part of Western that are trying to say that we are realizing something we didn't know, but it doesn't really mean the people of Western are not supporting Raila Amolo Odinga. Ruto went to Bungoma in 2022, went to Bungoma, went to Kakamega, all these countries, and Mudavadi and Wetangula were supporting Ruto. And we just saw that it really didn't bring some big impact. What happened? The better part of the Western region still voted for Raila. It means historically these people listen to Raila Amolo Odinga, and Raila knows what he can do for them to make them retrust him.
But today we have a different voice coming up in Western Kenya by the name Natembeya with his this movement, Tawe movement. And we saw him the other day rallying the Western with the unity call of their unity just towards the 2027 elections, the general elections. We are still not sure whether it will be 2027 or 2026 because we understand Wakili Willis is following up on something with the constitution, so it might as well be in 2026. So Natembeya is trying to rally these people. And if you see the magnitude of his campaigns, his rallies, something that was not pre-planned and was not hyped. He just comes and appears, and people turn out in numbers. And then you look at the comments and the comments. Most of the residents or citizens from Western region are speaking about this. That tells you that in a way they believe in something. There's a movement.
That's very true, and what you're saying is very factual. But we can't really say this is a different politics from what is happening even in the Mount Kenya region. You know, when somebody is getting into the national politics, in most cases, in the way that our politics is being run, it's about bringing your people together and bringing them to rally behind you. You know, Natembeya as a person, he's a leader and somebody who will be a force to be reckoned with in the future politics of this country. And right now, we can really say that he would be of a lot of influence, number one, because he's said before, unless he changes his plans, he says that he will still be running for the second term as governor. And when you be running for governor of Trans Nzoia country, it means when it comes to election, you can just tell your people, go vote, but you'll be concentrated in your county first. But if you say that I'm going for, I want to be the deputy president, but with what he's doing right now, perhaps he's having such in mind. So therefore, we still don't really know the side Natembeya will take, because what his mission is right now is to bring the Western people together behind him. So we don't know the side he will take when the right time comes. He's been siding with Gachagua, but not too much. Of course.
But now, have a look at this. In Western Kenya, there's a party that is coming up very strongly called DAPK, with the leader being Eugene Wamalwa. Of course, they won some positions in the last election, and Natembeya is part of that party.
That's true.
Peter Kalerwa Salasia is also part of that team. And in Nyanza, there's also another serious party which is coming up. This is called MDG, of the party founded by the current MP for Ugenya, David Ochieng. Don't you think that in the next general election, these two parties are going to kind of cause troubles in this zone, so that the zone which was previously seen as Ngome ya Raila? Don't you really think that these parties might as well pose a serious threat to the existence or the support base of ODM, with you having it in mind that the nominations of ODM as a party since it was founded has never been transparent, free and fair. And at some point they even handpick some of those who they feel this is the right candidate for this position, without even looking at what the other candidates or even the electorates or their delegates are thinking.
Yeah, it's very true that Wamalwa and his team, they're doing a good job in Western region in terms of mobilization and also bringing the people of the Western people into one voice, because that is what they're saying, that we want our people to be one single voice, and therefore when we are going into national politics, we can bargain. That's very true. When it comes to Western, that voice is there and that voice is kicking, especially to the younger generation, the youths, the Gen Z and a better part of the millennials. And when you speak about the Nyanza region, you know, Nyanza politics is a little different because things turn at any moment, especially when Raila is still in the picture. You know, like when you speak about MDG and him getting into politics and getting the MP seat of Ugenya, you know, it is a different thing because there is a sort of connection that these people had with MDG and just within the environments of Ugenya, and people are really feeling, oh, this is something new. Just within Siaya County itself. Because I was listening to some friend of mine and he did tell me that the people of Kenya are trying to say that this is our home party and ODM is for the people of Bondo. So this is ours, this is for the people of Bondo. So it is a competition just within the environs of the space. But when you speak about Nyanza, Homa Bay, Kisumu, Migori, and Kisii, it will be still a little bit difficult because Raila still has so many people in the grassroots.
Okay, we have a good friend of ours who is watching us here by the name Stanley Kivitu.
Okay.
Stanley Kivitu asks, do you think Raila is genuine in their relationship with Ruto? Because we've seen him join different coalitions, but later changes his stance.
Okay. Oh, that's a very good question. You know, politics, it's about interests. Yeah, and people are just sincere to their interests, to what they really want, nothing else. You know, when you're coming into coalition with somebody, it's just about defending your interest. If your interest is guarded, then you will be sincere in that place and you'll be welcomed in that place. Like right now, if we consider, if we look at the relationship between William Samoei Ruto and Raila Odinga, in some case, in some way, Raila is getting what he really wants, because it's about the development project that are taken to Nyanza, and I know Raila is also getting his kickbacks a little bit, and that is all he wants right now. And also he wants his people to be part of the government, and he wants to form a circle in which the Luo people, the Nyanza people, will never be out of government and keeping their voice together. And just in case that Ruto deflects and maybe shows him the back, and then Raila realizes, oh, I'm not getting what I really want, then I will have to change directions, or I will even go for presidency and find how I can manipulate, I can use my tricks to get to the next government or something like that. But if Raila will be sure that Ruto will be getting into the next government, then he will make deals with Ruto. Perhaps give Ruto the deputy president or something like that. It will be something about bargaining and keeping his interest in touch.
Remember, Raila for the longest has tried and has seriously run for the presidency because that has been his main interest. We had him run in the 90s and then stepped down for Kibaki in 2002.
Yeah, that's true.
Then we had him run in 2007, 2013, 2017, and then the last elections in 2022. What makes you think that this time around he might as well decide not to go for the presidency and in return support William Ruto?
You know, there is something people are not really realizing. You can see the Western Kenya, they're trying to align themselves with the Mount Kenya region, but there are just some little politics. There is a Nilotic group that is coming together, and again there is a Bantu group. You know, the Luyas have been part of the Luo, they've been intermarriage and they've been Mashemeji connected together, so they've been together, but there is a voice of the Bantus trying to call out, let us come together as the Bantus, the Gema region and the Western region. They're trying to block together, and the Nilotic region are also trying to say, oh, let us find our space here. The mountain region, they've been in politics, they've never supported us, they've been against us in all ways, bringing developments to their places, but never us. We've always been left behind. Even if our person is in the presidency, but they have their people in there that will ensure the better part of the development projects and improvements of lives of the people go just to the mountain region. And therefore, Raila, looking and reflecting on this, the fact that he's worked with Ruto before, he can as well say that, like he did with Kibaki, and say, oh, let us take one person, let's support William Samoei Ruto, then if we support him, then he gets the presidency, then we still proceed with what we just started. And otherwise, if he just sees that Ruto might not be trusted to him, we can say that we can never trust Ruto, but they have their personal relationship. They know how they relate, how they've worked for the longest period they've been in politics. So it is just a case between them. Yeah.
But even with Raila himself in the ballot, the block within the Luo Nyanza, when it comes to voter turnout, has always been low.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you really think now with Raila out of the race, Raila now supporting somebody, will this number go much down or it will go higher?
It will go higher because most of the people who you will hear saying that we are not going to vote, they are saying this for Raila. They're saying this that they voted for a very long time and Raila is never winning. So they're just seeing heartbreaks. So it's better to fail to vote and just, if you don't win, just say, oh, I didn't vote, so there is no reason for me to mourn or feel bad. So in this case, when Raila will be fronting another candidate in which the Luo people will see that this person has, we didn't vote for this person, then he came, gave us development, and now he's coming to us supported by Raila Amolo Odinga, and we have the hopes that he can cling to the presidency. So it is good. Let us come all together, bring our masses and vote for William Ruto. And again, the competition or maybe the disagreement or the conflict between these two tribes, the Luo community and the Kikuyu community, will influence a lot of Luos to go to vote just to punish the Mount Kenya region. That's very true.
Okay. What is it in place, or what is in place for Gachagua and Kindiki? Because Gachagua is here trying to solidify his base. And with the impeachment, as I said when we were starting, it has seriously given him mileage. And
true.
Today he commands a very big space or a very big voting block in the central Kenya. We have Ruto here bringing in Kindiki to try and neutralize that. Gachagua is ruthless. Kindiki is soft-spoken. Gachagua is a political scientist, a student of literature. He knows how to play around with words, he knows how to to strategize for politics. Kindiki is a professor of law. He also knows where he can pin somebody down when it comes to law, and I don't know how much he understands or how much he understands when it comes to politics, strategies, and even the literature bit of it, how to, because politics, it's how you speak to the people and how you sell yourself to the people that brings the people to you. So when looking at these two people, where do you place Kindiki? Where do you place Gachagua? And in the end, who do you see emerging as the kingpin or the controller of the voter-rich basket that is the central Kenya?
There is something you're getting wrong. I want you to understand that not even one single politician is weak in terms of they're not tough. They cannot do something, like they cannot take some strategic decision or do something you never expect just for the sake of power. Kindiki is in politics, he's in the space of politics, and the place where Gachagua is winning him, is defeating him, is the point you're mentioning of literature and the literature aspect of politics, bringing literature into politics. You know, when you look at Gachagua right now, he knows he can create narratives, he can speak to the voice of the people, their emotions, and win them to himself. And right now, speaking about Mount Kenya, the Mount Kenya region, they're listening to Rigathi Gachagua. But there are still some voices who are still speaking, oh, we cannot support Rigathi Gachagua, and yet we also have our person in government. And Kindiki is the only person who is in the position who can really neutralize Mount Kenya when he really has the right strategy. And all the strategy that Kindiki could use is, number one, studying communication or finding communication advisors. And we recently, there was this war between the Kindiki and Gachagua. We saw Kindiki invited some artists to Karen. He's resident in Karen. And then this one created some sort of conflict. Gachagua was saying, "Oh, let us fight this artist if they don't come back to us and apologize and follow them and do all these things." So if Kindiki can realize that that's one of the things that can give him mileage, that he keeps a never-ending war with Gachagua. So keeps fighting with Gachagua, replying to him, and they're conflicting each and every time, and people are speaking about the conflict, and the Mount Kenya region is now facing this situation. They have really to decide that which side of this conflict are we siding with, and therefore it will mean when people will be considering critically, most or a good number will side with Kindiki, saying, "Oh, Kindiki is telling us what is real, and Kindiki is in government, and why are we not supporting the government, and yet we are part of this government?" Yeah, because we can't really say that Mount Kenya was taken out of government and yet was replaced by just Mount Kenya. It's just that Gachagua has used literature and words and calculated steps just to make the mountain region listen to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, looking at politics across the globe,
yeah,
it is always controlled under something or under some belief, religion, ethnic group, or just because in most cases, people never buy a candidate.
Yeah.
They buy a specific candidate for specific reasons. For example, if you go to US today, you realize that we have Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
Here it's about race, in most cases. If you come to Africa, most of the African countries, if you go to the Arabic countries, it is about religion.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Religion plays
religion plays a better part of it. Then if you come to now the East African part or some of the African parts, West Africa, South Africa, and now if we're talking about this now, let's talk about Kenya. It is ethnic politics. It's based on tribal lines. And therefore, if you look at how Kenya has been voting since independence, or since Kenya started voting in their leaders, then you realize that in most cases, even the political parties we have, in as much as the political leaders try to portray or try to sell their parties out there as a national party with a national outlook, but in most cases, all these parties are tribal parties. Yes, because if you look at UDA, its main base is in Rift Valley. If you look at ODM, its main base is in Nyanza. If you look at DCP, the one Gachagua has created, its main base is in Central Kenya. Wiper, the main base is in Ukambani. DAP, the main base is in Western Kenya, the lower land. And so most of all these political parties, if not most, if not all, then most, are generally people vote for these parties or their candidates based on their tribal lines. And therefore, today we have some specific group coming up. This group called the Gen Z. And interestingly, if you look around, yes, the Gen Z, when the protest started with Reject the Finance Bill 2024, it was the young people. Actually, this group was within the age group of the Gen Z. Then later joined millennials. And today, you can even get an old man, a baby boomer, call themselves a Gen Z. Because many people today believe that Gen Z is not an age bracket.
That's true.
But they share a specific vision or a specific dream. So this Gen Z movement, what role do you see this critical group play in the next general elections?
I, as a person, or Worth Kaboko, I don't really support the tribal line politics and parties being formed in the tribal lines. And also, in the bigger picture, I don't really support nationalistic politics, especially when you refer to maybe a Kenya nationalist party, a Uganda nationalist party. I would love to see African nationalist parties, people who are building parties to come up with visions about Africa, to do away with the borders and find ways and solutions where how Africa can trade within itself, and just in that way. And I do believe that the people who will lead us to this direction are the young people, the Gen Z you are referring to. And the Gen Z is now not just an age group as you mentioned. Gen Z is about a spirit. A revival that is coming from inside. Somebody feels, I am revived, I'm thinking differently, my eyes are opening. And that is the spirit that pushed the Gen Z. There was this feeling, we have the news, the reviving of somebody's spirit, seeing, oh, we've been doing this wrongly, we've been used, we've been deceived, but people are just running different interests, which are, most of them are personal interests. But it's a time that we must come together to fight for real change. And it means that it is that spirit that can lead us to liberation, which is called the second liberation, yeah, where we can really know what is fact, what is not fact, and we can fight for economic empowerment. We can fight for how we can sustain ourselves as citizens of Africa, not just Kenya. Yeah.
Okay. Sincerely speaking, okay, we are almost concluding this podcast. But now, sincerely speaking, if you look at the health sector, there's a big problem.
Yeah, that's true.
There are no drugs in hospitals. The SHA itself is not serving everybody as it is supposed to serve the people. In as much as there are people who are trying to push the narrative that it is working, there are also a good number of people who have given accounts and actually given even try to talk to the people about the instances where they really needed the SHA, but it never came through. If you go to the education sector, it is also in a mess. And look at some of these tertiary institutions. The University of Nairobi today is in problems. You look at the KU, look at the major institutions, a lot of problems. And even look at the students today, there's no capitation. Recently, you saw news that a school in Nyanza received less than 100 Kenya shillings when the capitation was...
The schools in Nyanza.
Yes. And you could wonder what is really going on. If you go to agriculture, you also saw what happened in the recent past. We had fertilizer with stones and all that. And today we have an affordable housing project which is going on across the country. Personally, I really think that the affordable housing thing was supposed to maybe start with the settlements like Kibra or Madari, like the slums, so that they could better the state and the condition of those living in the slums. But then we have this affordable housing across the country, even in areas where people have their own lands, their homes. And at the end of the day, we have, now where I have the problem with this is that we have people actually, through their salaries, paying for the construction and the workmanship and the building of these houses. But at the end of the day, again, these houses are given to the people on a loan basis, so you pay for you to stay or live in these houses. So where exactly are the taxpayers' money going, and which are the priorities of this government? Because look at Homa Bay, for example. We had a whole government build a state lodge in Homa Bay, when there are other issues where this money could really help. Remember, just a few kilometers away in Kisumu, we have a state house where the president could still host his people, and then have this money maybe work on other areas. And we have most of these ministries, actually, they're not working, they're not moving. And then we have a message out here, the president is trying to show the country that now the economy is stable, people have money in their pocket, the prices of unga and other commodities has come down. And so I'm wondering, are we in the right direction? Or is the president trying to play around with the PR? Or the president doesn't really understand what he's supposed to do? Or, like, what is going on?
Oh, there could be a lot of comments about that. And number one, I will say it's very true that there is misappropriation of funds. And again, the government doesn't really understand what to give priority at this time. But let me just comment on these different things that you just talked about. For example, the housing project, the affordable housing project. Yes, this is a good deal, and it's a good idea. And to a country like Kenya, coming up with such projects, it's something so superb. Even the developed world, they are really aspiring. In most cases, they are trying their level best to come up with such. And again, I know if the government could focus that in one specific area, for example, you mentioned like Nairobi and Kibra, and then the country could really say that we are paying for this all over the country, and yet it's only serving some group of people, who perhaps they have their reasons for staying there. But it will be good that it be situated in different ways. But there could be questions on how the government is collecting the money, the transparency behind it, and also the question that is really the whole money being used, or some is mishandled and getting into the pockets of some individuals. And such questions can only be sorted when the government brings transparency, and every single, even the tendering, it be open to the public, it be free and fair. Then the public will gain that trust that it's true that these things are truthful, and the government is using this money and these funds to do these projects. Because when the president started launching the affordable housing, I could see a lot of people who got a chance, or some didn't even get a chance, but they knew a person who got a chance in those spaces. They were happy saying, oh, it's true, the government and the Ruto government was really speaking about something true they were doing, and it has delivered, and people at least gain some trust. And when you speak about SHA, it's true, SHA is not serving everybody, and the people it's serving, some of them, they are not being served the way they should. Maybe it's taking just a little bit of the burden away from the people who are paying for the SHA. And therefore, it means the government is not really doing what it should do. But in some way, SHA was a good idea, because NHIF had its problems and also the cartels within NHIF. But the problem that we really have with SHA is the lack of transparency. That was this thing being brought into place so that the public money could just disappear without accountability, because we see even people who are being brought into different positions. We had some positions that were announced by the government that people can apply, but the application was so not fair. It was not open for everybody. It was closed, and some people were cut off. So these are some of the questions that the public are answering. That is this a scheme to take our money to your pockets? And because we don't really see it delivering, a lot of money is being invested in SHA, but it's not working the way we expect it to work. So the government, for it to gain back the trust of the citizens, it must pull up its socks, ensure that the SHA system, it delivers, and every finance that is being pumped into SHA, let it be transparent and open, and we see as the public that this money has done this one has done this, and it's something that people can, very reasonable, and therefore everything will be good with SHA.
Okay. Thank you, Owuoth Boko, for joining us here on DMP Kenya Turning the Mirror podcast for our very first episode on the state of the nation. And so before we just conclude this, what is your final, or rather, what is your parting shot to our audience out there, and also maybe to those in authority?
I know there is a future for all of us, and again, we have generations that are coming after us, and it is our role as the people who are living today to do the right thing in everything we do, take the right decisions. Even if it's about electing our leaders, let's elect leaders who have the interest of the future generations. Let us look into education, let us look into health, let us look into environment, climate change, and all these things that affect us as a community and affect us as a people. And when we fight towards our own well-being, not personal interest, then it means everything will be all good. Everybody will be having their own space, because we have enough space, and everybody can sustain themselves with the finances and the resources we have. If they all be brought collectively for the benefit of the masses, then everybody will be served, everybody will be satisfied at the end of the day. Then we'll have a happy country and a happy future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you also for joining us, and we really appreciate taking your time to be with us. Kindly follow our handles on Facebook, Desert Mama Productions, also DMP Kenya. On YouTube, DMP Kenya, kindly subscribe. And also leave us your comment. What are your thoughts about the topic we've just talked about? Every issue, what do you think? Where do you think the problem is? And how do you think we can approach the elections that are just ahead of us? And then what is the best that we can do as a country, as a nation, as citizens? And also, what can those in authority do to ensure that we have a better country, and what they normally refer to as Singapore, because they use Singapore as a country of example or a country of interest. Thank you very much. My name is Quach. On the behalf of those behind the cameras, we really appreciate you, and we thank you so much. Bye-bye. Enjoy your night.